वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। Okay. क्या आएंगे धीरे धीरे। Okay, so we finished reading all the translations of the first chapter. So, few points from some of the purports we'll just go through before going to the second chapter. Okay, so yesterday we were Haribo. So we were discussing the purport to verse 30. Okay, we'll just okay, we'll just recite text 30. Kachidhare saumya sutta sadriksha aste granirathīnam sadhu sambha asutayam jambavati vratadhya devam guham yo ambikeya dhrito gre. O gentleman, does Samba fare well? He exactly resembles the son of the personality of Godhead. In a previous birth, he was born as Kartikeya in the womb of the wife of Lord Shiva. And now he has been born in the womb of Jambavati, the most enriched wife of Krishna. So, we were discussing this point yesterday. So, we'll just read this commentary once again. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Okay, read this.
Shiva is considered non-different from Krishna. Similarly, Shiva's son Kartikeya, considered an uns of Krishna's son Sambh, is considered non-different from him. Or this statement can be explained in another way. When Krishna appears on earth, Narayan enters him and appears also. It is later said, Paravaresho Mahad Ansha Yukto. Krishna appears with his ansas. Thus it is said that Narayan appeared in Vasudev's house. Similarly, because Kartikeya entered Shambh, Kamdev entered Pradyumna and Vasu entered Uddhav. In the same way, such statements as are made in the present verse are not wrong.
Okay, so that's how just like Krishna comes with all his expansions, so similarly these eternal associates of the Lord also have their expansions in the material world in the form of these various devatas. So therefore he is saying that, so similarly Kartikeya entered Samba. So Samba is eternal associate of the Lord, and so his expansion is Kartikeya. So similarly Pradyumna's expansion is Kamadev and Uddhav's expansion is Vasu. And so when Krishna told all these devatas to descend into this world to take part in his pastimes, so both the eternal associate and the Amsha, both of them combined together, and that is how they descended into this world. And therefore we read later on in the Maushal Leela, it is explained, when the Yadus, they went to Prabhashetra, they fought amongst each other. So there it is described that it was only the Devata Amsha who went to Prabhas, and only they fought amongst themselves. They killed each other. So the eternal associates, the Yadus, surely they would not be doing such activities. And so the eternal associates, the Yadus, they remained in Dwarka. And then they also disappeared along with Krishna after Krishna finished his pastimes. But it was the Devatas who fought in that way. And then, of course, that was also Krishna's plan, that this will come later on. This was also Krishna's plan to basically send them back to their abodes, that is the heavenly planets. And so that is how this is explained. And so we were reading another commentary also where it is explained that Vasudeva and Devaki, so in the previous lives they were Sutapa and, so similarly it is explained Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, in the previous lives they were? Yes, Drona and so, but then we read that Nanda and Yashoda are eternal associates, the eternal parents of the Lord. Then is it that this Drona and Dhara performed austerities, therefore they became Nanda and Yashoda? No. So Nanda and Yashoda are eternal associates. But these living entities like Drona and Dhara, they perform austerities, and then they're given a chance to do the service, but then they combine with the eternal associates. They combine with the eternal associates, and then they do the service. So that's how it works. Because the eternal associates, nobody can replace them. They're always eternal. And they're always performing that service. Nobody can replace them. And so therefore, when some other living entities do that service, then they only combine with these eternal associates, and the combined incarnation is what performs that particular service for that much amount of time. And then once the duration of that service is done, then they return back to their abodes. The eternal associates continue.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, any living entity can combine with them and become their parents?
Not my choice. That's why they had to perform so many hundreds and thousands of years of austerity to get that service. So similarly, it is mentioned about this Sutapa and Prishna also. No? Krishna appears in front of them and is pleased with their very severe austerities for thousands of years. And so not any Tom, Dick and Harry, today I decide I want to become Pradyumna or somebody else of my choice. And then it's not something so cheap. So these are all, so it's described that they have their expansions, specific expansions. So those devatas are like specific expansions of these eternal associates. And so they combine. Okay, fine. So that's one point about this Samba and Kartikeya, huh? Dhara. So that's what. So they combine with Nanda and Yashoda. Nanda and Yashoda are eternal. So when they become qualified to render that service as Krishna's parents in Golok, so then they are given, and of course, usually that takes place when Krishna does his pastimes in Bhauma Vrindavan. In the material world, Krishna's pastimes are eternal, even in the material world, correct? From one universe to the other. So when Krishna does his pastimes in the material world, then these living entities, Jivatmas, are given chance to take part in the Lord's pastimes. And so that time they combine with the eternal associates and they are allowed to render that service. Okay. And of course, they become qualified to do that service by their practices of devotional service. They become qualified. Okay. Text 33. Just one point from the purport here. In this purport, it is mentioned, Srila Prabhupada talks about these three types of happiness, which we are all aware of. It begins the purport by saying the destination of transcendence is to become the personal associate of the personality of God, who is known as Adokshaja, who is beyond the reach of the senses. The renouncers of the world, the sannyasis, give up all worldly connections, namely family, wife, children, friends, home, wealth, everything, to attain the transcendental bliss of Brahman happiness. But Adokshaja happiness is beyond Brahman happiness. The next one, 33. 31, sorry. So there is material happiness, then there is Brahman happiness, and then there is Adokshaja happiness. So the happiness of pure devotional service is called as Adokshaja happiness. And Brahman bliss is enjoyed by the living entities after liberation from material bondage. But Parabrahman, the personality of Godhead, enjoys eternally a bliss of his own potency, which is called the Ladhini potency. The empiric philosopher who studies Brahman by negation of the external features has not yet learned the quality of the Ladhini potency of Brahman. Out of many potencies of the omnipotent, there are three features of his internal potency, Samvit, Sandhini, and Ladhini. And in spite of their strict adherence to the principles of Yam, Niyam, Asana, Dhyana, Dharana, and Pranayam, the great yogis and jnanis are unable to enter into the internal potency of the Lord. This internal potency is, however, easily realized by the devotees of the Lord by dint of devotional service. So Yudha achieved this stage of life just as he achieved expert knowledge in military science from Arjuna. Thus his life was successful to the fullest extent from both the material and spiritual angles of vision. That is the way of devotional service to the Lord. Okay. And in the next verse he is asking about Akrura, so who in ecstasy of transcendental love fell down on the dust of the road, which was marked with the footprints of Lord Krishna. Here Prabhupada makes a point that such a pure devotee of the Lord is naturally faultless because he is always associated with the supremely pure personality of Godhead. And this is an important statement. Constant thought of the Lord is the antiseptic method for keeping oneself free from the infectious contamination of the material qualities. The pure devotee of the Lord is always in company with the Lord by thinking of Him. Okay? Constant thought of the Lord is the antiseptic method for keeping oneself free from the infection of material contamination. So antiseptic is a chemical which prevents infection, correct? So similarly, in the material world, we are infected by three modes, especially the lower modes. If we want to keep oneself free from the infection of the lower modes, then the medicine is Smartavya Satatam Vishnu Vismartavya na Jatuchit Sarve Vidhi Nishedasyor Etayor Eva Kinkaraha. So the purpose of all rules and regulations in the practice of devotional service is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. So as long as we are always engaged in remembrance of Krishna, then that will prevent us from being infected by the material qualities. So therefore we have to try to keep ourselves as Krishna conscious as possible by always engaging in some activities related to Krishna. And that's how one can be free from this infection. And therefore in the Bhagavad Gita also, 8th chapter, 7th verse, what does Krishna say? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu Mam anusmara yudhyacha. So of course Krishna didn't tell Arjuna to stop fighting and just sit in meditation thinking about him. But he said, you perform your duties, but at the same time think of me. So we have to perform our duties, but at the same time think of Krishna, chant his holy names. So that's how we can try to remember Krishna. Okay, then he's asking about Devaki and Aniruddha and so many others. Then, so after he asks about the Yadus, then from text 36, he begins to ask about the Kurus. Maharaj Yudhishthir, then Bhima, then Arjuna, and then Nakul and Sahadev. And then he asks about Kunti, oh yes. So, and then 41, he's lamenting for Dhritarashtra. He doesn't ask about his well-being, but he's lamenting. We read that purport yesterday. But then the important point there is, of course, that was already discussed in the 13th chapter of the previous canto, that how Vidura, he was always thinking about Dhritarashtra's welfare, even though Dhritarashtra acted inimically. So that's the Vaishnav. So the Vaishnava is always the well-wisher of every living entity. Srila Prabhupada signed off all his letters with your ever well-wisher in all circumstances. So, I think so, we told you that past time, right? There was this devotee who sold one of the temples. One devotee, very early devotee. We won't take names. So he sold one of the temples and took all the money and ran away. So the stealing business is always happening. So that day somebody was saying, here it happened. Nothing new. All these things keep happening in this material world. Yes. Not just some silver vessels. The whole temple he took. So he was in charge. And so he sold it, took all the money and went away. So that time there. So anyway, in India also we learnt a lesson. So anyways, and this person basically after that he left devotional service altogether. And he was so he was a hippie before, then again he became a sort of hippie and he was roaming around in the Hawaii Islands. And so when Srila Prabhupada came to know about that, He was very upset. But at the same time, he was so concerned that Rameshwar Prabhu tells this. So that he told Srila Prabhupada told Rameshwar Prabhu, go and find him. Go and find him and give him a flight ticket to come and meet me in Vrindavan. So then Rameshwar Prabhu, he went to Hawa Islands and he was searching, and then somehow he managed to find him. And then he found him and gave him the flight ticket to meet Prabhupada. That person was totally moved by Srila Prabhupada's love and compassion. That even though he did something so wrong and mischievous, but still, Srila Prabhupada didn't give up his love as a Jivatma. And so that person came, met Srila Prabhupada, and of course, Srila Prabhupada didn't chastise him, didn't talk anything about the matter. He just spoke some general things, how are things going, this, that. And so the devotee spoke something and he went off. And he never changed even after that. He never changed. And Shrutikirti Prabhu, who was the person's servant at that time, so he was present. And so after this devotee left, Shrutikirti Prabhu asked Srila Prabhupada that this devotee has done such nonsense. So still, why you called him and met him and all that? So Srila Prabhupada said, yes, he's a rascal, nonsense, but still I love him. So that's spiritual vision. So yes, the Jivatma does nonsense, influenced by 3 modes, but still he is Jivatma, part and parcel of the Lord. And that is also the Lord's vision towards all the Jivatmas. Correct? Like a loving father. Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. Best well-wishing friends. And so the spiritual master acts as the representative of Krishna. And so therefore he is also ever well-wisher. So always trying to make some attempts to bring back the jivas back to their senses, back to their original consciousness. So that was Srila Prabhupada. And of course there are some other pastimes also like that. Anyway, just to narrate one more. So there was one I think so this also happened in Hawaii. Anyway, so there was this devotee who was a sannyasi, and then again influence of the material energy very strong. So gave up his sannyas, gave up Krishna consciousness. But and so when he would come to that temple, nobody would bother to even look at him. No devotee would bother to even look at him because he stopped following all the principles and performing all sinful activities, everything. So nobody wanted to associate with him. And but then he used to come to the Govinda's restaurant there, and so there was one lady who was working at the Govinda's restaurant, and she felt pity for him. And so she used to give him some prasad and things like that. So one day Srila Prabhupada was coming to that temple. Devotees were at the gate performing kirtan to welcome Srila Prabhupada. And so at that time, this ex-devotee, so he comes to the temple. He goes to the Govinda's restaurant, and he sees there's a big crowd of devotees near the gate. So he asked this lady, what's the matter? Why all these devotees are at the gate doing this? So she tells him, oh, Srila Prabhupada is coming. Okay. So anyway, he has his meal in the Govinda restaurant, and then as he's about to go, just at that time, Srila Prabhupada arrives. And as Srila Prabhupada comes out of the car, all the other devotees are trying to avoid Srila Prabhupada meeting this devotee. So, but all of a sudden Srila Prabhupada happened to see him. And Srila Prabhupada starts walking in his direction. So other senior devotees, leaders, they tell Srila Prabhupada, no, he's not following any of the principles, he's performing all sinful activities. But Srila Prabhupada goes right up to him and when that devotee sees Srila Prabhupada, spontaneously asks him, so Srila Prabhupada, can I do some service for you? So he only asked, can I cook for you? Previously was cooking. And other devotees are trying to tell Srila Prabhupada, no, he's committing all sinful activities. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you can cook. So that was Srila Prabhupada, ever well-wisher. Always, of course, we can't imitate these things, okay? We can't imitate. This is Srila Prabhupada, this highly empowered. If we imitate, we'll also land up there only. So, but the point is that that's Srila Prabhupada and his unlimited compassion. Always somehow trying to engage the jivas in some devotional service by which they can get purified and gradually come on the right track. His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj tells this pastime right here in Juhu. When there was one devotee in the US who again went back to his old ways. He started taking intoxication. And when Srila Prabhupada was here, the news came to him. So Srila Prabhupada tells Tamal Krishna Maharaj, so the temple president of that particular temple in the US had complained that this particular devotee he's taking intoxicants and all that. So Srila Prabhupada tells Tamal Krishna Maharaj, tell the temple president that if he does not give up taking intoxicants, then I will give him up as a disciple. I will disown him as a disciple. Okay, so then later on, Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked Srila Prabhupada, so Srila Prabhupada, if this particular devotee doesn't give up his intoxication, so will you actually disown him? Will you actually give him up? So Srila Prabhupada says, no, I can never do that. Tamal Krishna Maharaj says, but he's performing all sinful activities. He's doing all. Srila Prabhupada says, the mercy of Lord Nityanand Prabhu is unlimited. So that was the mood of Srila Prabhupada. Of course, we cannot take advantage of this. So we always have to remember that Srila Prabhupada's disciples are definitely very special. because they helped Srila Prabhupada at the time when he needed help the most. And so therefore Srila Prabhupada has that special affection towards them. And we find that Srila Prabhupada tried to get them back and all that. Ultimately, of course, they have to face the reactions of whatever they're doing. There's no doubt about that. But Srila Prabhupada always maintained that compassion, always tried to bring them back, engage them somehow in some devotional service. And of course, that's how the compassion of the spiritual master continues life after life. And so the spiritual master, he continues to make arrangements, even from the spiritual world. He continues to make arrangements to somehow bring back the disciples back to itself. So, but then we have to remember that one cannot take advantage, undue advantage of that causeless mercy. And one cannot be duplicitous. One cannot be duplicitous. So if one is knowingly committing wrong activities, thinking that, oh, Nityan Prabhu is very merciful, Mahaprabhu is very merciful. So taking that as an excuse, if one commits wrong activities, then what is that? Yes, then it'll be seventh offense. Namno Baladyasipa. So then that's very dangerous. So then Mahaprabhu is Patit Pavan, not Kapat Pavan. But then, okay, we were telling these stories just to make the point that how Srila Prabhupada always acted as the ever well-wisher, and that's the Vaishnava. So even though the other person may commit wrong activities, but still one always has that compassion and tries to help the other person. And so we were quoting yesterday from Bhagavad Gita, 12th chapter, 13th verse. Srila Prabhupada writes, a Vaishnav does not become his enemy's enemy. That means if somebody else is acting inimically towards me, then I also don't become inimical towards him. Enemy's enemy. So what is the Vaishnava's thinking? When somebody acts inimical towards a Vaishnava, what does the Vaishnava think? Say that? Yes. That's what Prabhupada writes in that same purport. So the Vaishnava thinks that this person is behaving like this because of my own past karma. And so therefore he does not react in the same way. He does not react in the same way. But then he tries to act in compassionate way. Of course, time, place, circumstances, one has to do the needful. But then the essential principle has to be understood. And so a Vaishnava always takes the blame upon himself. I'm sure many of you may have heard this pastime of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, which he tells when it was early days, Montreal. No, not Panj. Mukherjee. So this Mr. Mukherjee was, Maharaj was inviting him, but then when they had a program in a church, all the Christian fathers and nuns and all the Christians were very much favorable and appreciating. But then when it came time for questions, Mr. Mukherjee asked, so Swamiji, why are you trying to convert Christians into Hindus? So anyway, all the devotees were very upset. But then later on, Srila Prabhupada, he calls, he tells Gopal Krishna Maharaj to call this Mr. Mukherjee. So he says, why do you want to meet him, Srila Prabhupada? He was sort of blasphemous towards you. And Srila Prabhupada says, no, maybe in my last life I did something, so therefore he's behaving like this. And then, so they called him, and Srila Prabhupada blessed him before leaving Montreal. So this is Vaishnava behavior. And that's to a non-devotee. Then what to speak of devotees? So sometimes a devotee doesn't behave favorably towards us, we get angry and then break relations and things like that. But from these examples of Srila Prabhupada, we can see that Vaishnav's behavior and Vaishnav's consciousness is much higher than simply mundane platform. And okay, so that was the behavior of Vidura. So therefore Prabhupada concludes this. Such is the behavior of Vaishnava like Vidura. He desires all good even for his enemies. Okay, not that sometimes we get so angry at a devotee who doesn't behave properly with us. Useless fellow. You should go to hell. So that's not the attitude. He desires all good even for his enemies. And what to speak of devotees then? So all these are highly instructive for us. How we, as Vaishnavas, we need to change our behavior. That's the whole purpose of studying Shastra. It's not simply a theoretical exercise. So after reading these things, hearing these things, which we find repeatedly throughout the scriptures, then again we have the best example, Amrish Maharaj and Durvas Muni. So Durvas Muni, what he tried to do? Kill, plain murder. That's what he tried to do. But what was Ambarish's response? So therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, becoming a Vaishnava is not so easy. We may say devotee, but real devotee is something else. Yes, of course, we are trying to be devotees, and there's no harm in calling each other as devotees. But at the same time, one should know what is the standard of being a devotee, what is the standard of being a Vaishnava. And are we proceeding in that direction? And definitely, ultimately, all these qualities come by purification of the consciousness. That's vital. That's the underlying principle. So without purification of consciousness, these qualities are not going to come automatically. The purification has to take place. So therefore, one has to be fixed in the purificatory program. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatik inchana sarver gunais tatra samasati. The bhakti has to be there. If the bhakti is not there, then one cannot expect the qualities to automatically come. The bhakti has to be there. The purification has to take place. All right.
A Vaishnava desires all good for his enemy also. So is it just spiritual good, or materially also he wants his well-being and all?
Ultimately spiritually good. Ultimately we desire the spiritual well-being. But then of course, for a devotee, then the physical well-being also facilitates the spiritual well-being. Correct? If one's physical health is not good, then it's difficult to practice devotional life also, right? So, a Vaishnava, he desires all good. That's what Prabhupada writes, no? He desires all good. All good. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, everything. Okay? Huh? Okay. Yet in the particular context of time and place, the transcendental emotions take a different turn, and this breaks the mental equilibrium of the devotee. Lord Chaitanya displayed the typical example of transcendental ecstasy, as we can understand from the life of this incarnation of God. Yes. So he's referring to transcendental ecstasy, ecstatic emotions. So when there is ecstasy, then the mental equilibrium is disturbed. The ecstatic emotions take over. And so then there are all these ecstatic symptoms. So that was what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was exhibiting. Yes, yes, of course. Every individual devotee has to judge for himself. That's correct. That is correct. But I think so that differentiation is not so difficult. If we have not yet got free from the anarthas, then where is the question of exhibiting ecstatic emotions? If we are still having a lot of difficulty trying to control our mind and senses, and then we think that I'm having some transcendental emotions, transcendental ecstasies. So one can sleep in the class and think that oh, he's in trance. So, but in any case, your point is correct. Better not to judge others, better judge oneself.
In a society where there are a lot of devotees who are very much seniors, generally, based on our experience, when those devotees becomes angry for certain things, we cannot understand whether they are thinking of Krishna, constant memory of Krishna. Senior divorce experience.
Yes, so therefore there is no need to get into judgments or what they are thinking, what they are feeling. Therefore, the etiquette keeps us safe. Therefore, there are principles of Vaishnava etiquette. Whether we understand internal moods or this and that, whether we understand that or not, there are some plain, simple etiquettes to be followed. Then that will keep us safe. So some senior is angry and is chastising. What is the etiquette that a subordinate is supposed to follow? What is the etiquette? Tolerate. That the Lord himself says in the pastime of Jay and Vijay. So there the Lord himself says that when a Brahmana or a Vaishnava gets angry, he chastises, then is the duty of a subordinate to simply tolerate and smile and pacify the Vaishnava with sweet words, just like a son pacifies the father. That's the etiquette that is expected. So the etiquette is not, it's a wrong practice if one replies back, shouts back. That's wrong. So whether that Vaishnava is angry for whatever reason, selfish motives or genuine concern, whatever may be the reason, that's up to him to decide. Okay. But as far as I am concerned, as a subordinate or as a junior, as far as I am concerned, how I am supposed to react in that particular situation, the etiquette is that I don't Yes, that I don't shout back, argue, and all that. So at that point of time, then just accept and do the needful. Of course, if things are happening too frequently, then one can take guidance, consult, and do the needful. So therefore, there is no need to try and find out, oh, what was the consciousness of that person, why, what, this, that. That's up to every individual to judge. It's my devotional service. If I am doing something with wrong motives, who suffers? So therefore, if somebody else is doing something, I don't have to get into being judgmental. That's not my business. I need to follow the etiquette, whatever is appropriate at that point of time. That is what I need to do. Therefore, etiquettes are set down. Taken?
Okay.
So then, whether that was ecstasy or modes, it doesn't matter. Okay. Fine. 42. So in 42, Vidura is saying, I am not astonished at this, having traveled over the world without being seen by others. The activities of the personality of Godhead, which are like those of a man in this mortal world, are bewildering to others. But I know of his greatness by his grace, and thus I am happy in all respects. Okay, so Vidura is saying, I am not astonished at this. Astonished at what? Huh? Dhritarashtra's behavior. So he's saying, I'm not astonished at this. I've traveled all over the world. I've seen so many types of people doing so many things. So not very astonishing. And ultimately, everything is happening by the plan of the Supreme Lord. The activities of the Supreme Lord, they may be like an ordinary mortal, but they're very bewildering to others. So that means ultimately everything is happening by the will of the Supreme Lord. And why the Lord does certain things is very difficult to understand. So therefore, Vidura is saying, why Dhritarashtra is behaving in that particular way, I don't know. But the Lord knows. And why the Lord does certain things is very bewildering. But I know of his greatness by his grace. But one thing I know, that Krishna is great and his activities are inconceivable, incomprehensible, cannot understand at all times. So therefore, understanding that ultimately everything is happening by the will of the Supreme, I am happy in all respects. So actually, this is the perfect consciousness of a Vaishnava. So we may not be able to understand why somebody else is doing like that, or why certain things are happening to me in my life. It's not possible to figure out everything. But when we understand, Bhoktaram Yugatapasam, Sarvalokam Aishwaram, the Supreme Controller is Krishna. He is controlling everyone. And at the same time, whatever he does is for the best well-being of that living entity. Suridam Sarvabhutanam. So if one understands this, what is the result? Shanti. Then one can be happy, peaceful in all respects. That's what Vidura is saying. I'm happy because I know Krishna's greatness. How does he know Krishna's greatness? By Krishna's grace. That's what he's saying. By his grace, I understand his greatness. And so therefore I know that ultimately whatever is happening by Krishna's plan. I cannot understand all that. It's very bewildering. But one thing I'm sure, it's happening by his grace. It's for the well-being of everyone. So therefore, he is happy and peaceful in all respects. Okay. So, Prabhupada writes, Dhritarashtra and his materialistic sons wanted to falsely lord it over the world by dint of their own strength. The Lord encouraged them in this, and thus they became more and more bewildered. Okay, one more sentence before that is also good. By the grace of Lord Krishna, okay, from the beginning we'll read. Although he was the brother of Dhritarashtra, Vidura was completely different. By the grace of Lord Krishna, he was not foolish like his brother, and thus his brother's association could not influence him. His brother's association could not influence him. So not that, oh, my brother is acting like this, I'll also act like that. So sometimes this type of justification is given. Oh, that devotee, he's acting like this, so therefore I also acted. No, that means what? He's foolish and you are also foolish. What's the difference then? So that is no good justification. So by the grace, for making that discrimination also, the grace of the Lord is required. But the grace of Lord Krishna, he was not foolish like his brother, and thus his brother's association could not influence him. Dhritarashtra and his materialistic sons wanted to falsely lord it over the world by dint of their own strength. And what did the Lord do? The Lord encouraged them in this. And thus they became more and more bewildered. Very interesting. So, the Kauravas were doing one wrong thing after the other. Correct? And they appear to be very successful. Correct? They appear to be very successful in whatever they were doing. And maybe some other people watching the whole scene between the Kauravas and the Pandavas must have been wondering, oh, what is this? These Pandavas, they are nicely following Dharma, this Dharmaraj, Yudhishthir Maharaj, they're pious, Krishna is their friend, and still so many injustices are happening to them. We read in the first canto, we read, even Bhishma Dev was bewildered to some degree. So it appeared as if the Lord was encouraging their nonsense. Nonsense is going on. And the Lord is encouraging that. Very bewildering, isn't it? So there is an English saying, the higher one goes, the harder one falls. So see, if somebody is sitting over here on this table and he falls from here, maybe he was dozing while chanting or whatever. Yeah. So if he falls from here, not much, right? Won't get so much hurt. Won't get so much hurt. But what if somebody falls from this building, off this window, somebody jumps from here down? If he lands on the lawn, that's another thing. So then, correct. So of course here you have the live example of one devotee who fell down from a mango tree. So then it's really bad situation. And what if somebody falls off a mountain cliff or something? Then hopefully the bones will be visible. So the point is, so sometimes this is how Krishna acts. He allows one to go higher, 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 higher. And then he continues to give the jiva chances. Sudhrega, sudhrega, sudhrega. And at the same time, he takes him higher, higher, higher. And if it does not improve, then after he goes up, then down, Krishna drops him. Then what? It's very painful. Very painful. But then that's what Krishna does sometimes. When Krishna really wants to teach a good lesson, then that's what Krishna does. We heard this example from one senior devotee. So it's just like sometimes fill the balloon more and more and more. And then when the balloon becomes really big, and then you puncture the balloon, what happens? Pa! It's a very big blow to the ego. That's what Prabhupada is writing here. So therefore, one should never think, especially as devotees, one should never think my nonsense is going on successfully. I'm doing my nonsense and nothing is happening to me. I think so. I told you that incident, right? Of one brahmachari who challenged Maya. So anyway, so in some temple, there was this brahmachari who was regularly, without fail, not attending the morning program. She was so strict. It was unimaginable that you could see him in the morning program till prasadam time. And so other brahmacharis were warning him, Are Baba, be careful. A very special service and donors. And he was visiting some of the wealthiest people, very wealthy people, going to their posh homes. And so when other devotees were warning him, he was saying, see, so many days, months, years, anything happened? I'm still there in the ashram. I'm eating Mahaprasad. I'm happy. My service is going on. What's the problem? So that was a challenge he gave to Maya. And Maya took it very seriously. And the rest is history. We don't have to say. Sure enough, Maya took it very seriously. So that's what Prabhupada is writing here. Dhritarashtra and his materialistic sons wanted to falsely lord it over the world by dint of their own strength. The Lord encouraged them in this, and thus they became more and more bewildered. So they became bewildered because they were thinking, Sab kuch theek chal raha hai. We're doing all nonsense, but nothing is happening. They became bewildered. But Vidura wanted to achieve sincere devotional service of the Lord and therefore became a soul absolutely surrendered to the absolute personality of Godhead. Nice statement. But Vidura wanted to achieve what? Sincere devotional service. And therefore he became a soul absolutely surrendered to the absolute personality of Godhead. That's what the absolute personality of Godhead desires, absolute surrender. And he could realize this in the progress of his pilgrim's journey, and thus he was free from all doubts. He was not at all sorry to be bereft of his hearth and home, because he now had experience. This is the most beautiful statement. Now he had experience, that means he had realization. What realization he had? That dependence on the mercy of the Lord is a greater freedom than so-called freedom at home. So who would like to explain this statement? It's such a deep statements. He had experienced that dependence on the mercy of the Lord is a greater freedom than so-called freedom at home. And this is especially very important for brahmacharis to realize. Yes, Aditya.
In Sankirtan bus, we regularly experience this because we have no fixed place to stay and we don't know where we are sleeping at night, what is around us.
So?
So everything depends on the Lord. We pray to the Lord.
So how was, so you experience freedom there?
Yeah.
How? You don't get tension? अरे कहाँ सोएंगे, प्रसाद कहाँ मिलेगा? टेंशन नहीं होता है?
मतलब मजा आता है प्रभु जी, टेंशन नहीं आता है, एडवेंचर फील होता है.
वो ठीक है, but how will you prove this statement?
तो फ्रीडम ये ना प्रभु जी, we are not worried about anything. We are totally dependent upon the Lord. बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन पूरे दिन करना है, शाम को कहीं ना कहीं भगवान व्यवस्था कर देंगे.
तो फ्रीडम कहाँ पर है?
भगवान के ऊपर.
Okay, okay.
And many such occasions also, many incidents happened, like when we are in a city where everything is closed by night. Some person will come and he will say ki I have ration shop, you can whatever you want you can get from my shop, and there is a temple nearby, you can stay over there, I can talk to them. So these incidents take place. So it builds our confidence in the Lord.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
In home, we are, so to say, we are controller and somebody are there. We have some free access to have exhibit our control. But actually to exhibit that control, we have to take a lot of responsibilities also. And then we have to undergo the process. But here when we are completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord, then because we are working for the sake of Lord, then we get actual time for doing devotional service, and God gives all opportunities to go back to Godhead. But that too, being executing the controllership in the home, we are stuck up in that consciousness, and then goes on in that process only, and then never come out of that so-called controllership mentality.
Okay, good, very good, good points. Somebody else?
Just as thinking from some of the proper disciples who, like Gorgon Maharaj, Bhakti Maharaj, when they left the home in the search of God, traveling here and there. So how much they're feeling the dependence and the mercy of the Lord, even though, like example of Gorgon Maharaj only, he was residing in the temple, he was in the village itself. I think was coming something like that, but still he left to search for a guru. So how much he was, even though the so-called freedom was there at that place, but being completely dependent, what more he got.
Okay, okay, good. Somebody else? Okay.
I've had the example of the cow being tied with the rope. So if the farmer sees that the cow is more obedient to him, then he increases the rope so that he gets more freedom to.
Okay, that sounds correct. Yes, thank you.
In home, we are obliged to satisfy people within the home, and in the course of satisfying them, we have to work very hard. Whereas when we completely depend on the Lord, then these obligations will not come. Completely depend on the Lord, and we can perform our devotional service.
But we don't have obligations towards other devotees and all that?
No, even within the, we have certain things we have to do, so that, like whatever service, they have some expectations, we have to fulfill those expectations. Then only we can get, we can be around the devotee. Otherwise, it's not possible.
Okay, fine, good. Pradeep?
Prabhuji, I was just thinking about Prabhupada's life. Like when he was there at home, how difficult it was. Like he wrote that manuscript and that was sold. But when he went to America, fully dependent on the Lord, then he could do so much. And that was actual freedom.
That's right. Okay, good. Okay, Malas.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I was thinking about that, how the Prabhuji was mentioning obligations. So in the home, we have to do the work for the materialistic people like that, not devotee. Sometimes maybe devotee. But most of the cases non-devotee, there we incur the karma. But here serving devotees and serving Guru, we will be free only. And the nature of soul is to be free.
Correct. Yes. So, first canto, second chapter, verse number 8 purport. Srila Prabhupada writes this beautiful statement. There he's explaining how the soul is looking for freedom, the light of freedom. He's hankering because it is the nature of the soul to be free. But now he's encaged within the body and he's looking for that freedom. And towards the end of that purport, Srila Prabhupada concludes, the hankering soul can only be satisfied by the scientific process of perfect devotional service. So that's what the soul has been hankering for since time immemorial. The soul has been hankering for freedom. In this body, where is the freedom? If one eats little more, we know what happens. So no freedom. So here, so on the other hand, the more one depends on the Supreme Lord, the more freedom one gets. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada gives the example that a devotee surrendered to the Lord is just like a small child sleeping on the lap of the mother. So does the child ever have any anxiety whether the mother will feed milk or no? No. The child is just peaceful because he is 100% dependent on the mercy of the mother. So similarly, and therefore, he has no anxiety. No anxiety means freedom. He is free. He has no anxiety. And that's exactly what happens in devotional service. So to the degree one is dependent on the mercy of the Lord, by surrendering to Him and by performing one's duties towards Him. That is the meaning of surrender. One has to perform one's duties towards Him. So if one is sincerely performing one's duties towards the Lord, then one can be rest assured that whatever needs are there, they will all be taken care of. And one is totally free. That's what Prabhupada is writing. He now had experience. He was not at all sorry. He was not sorry for having to leave Dhritarashtra's palace. Why? Because now he had experience, so this is experienced knowledge, realized knowledge, that dependence on the mercy of the Lord is a greater freedom than so-called freedom at home. So at home, there may be so-called freedom. Okay, I can do what I like. I can eat what I like. I can command people as I like. I can do all those things. And I may be thinking that I have more freedom. But all those activities at home, especially if they're not in connection with devotional service, what's happening? More and more bondage. More and more bondage. And even if, okay, take into consideration, okay, even if all family members are devotees, but even then, that so-called freedom, it's still so-called freedom, because in order to have that so-called freedom, then one has to do so many other activities to sort of enjoy that so-called freedom. But one who is totally dependent on the mercy of the Lord, then he has no anxieties, no worries. And that's how he actually experiences true freedom. So that is what happens to the degree one is surrendered to the Lord. The dependence on the Lord increases, and to the degree one is dependent on the Lord with full faith that the Lord will definitely provide. As Prabhupada, so many lectures. If Krishna can provide to the elephants in the African jungles eating tons of food, why will he not provide for his devotees? Simple logic. But then that faith comes by the grace of the Lord. When one is surrendered to him. So when one is surrendered, one gets that faith, and one is totally dependent. Avashya Rakshabe Krishna Goptritve Varnam Tata. Krishna is the protector, Krishna is the maintainer. One has full faith, then one is totally free. Totally free. And that's the real freedom one experiences in devotional service. Right. And Vidura now has full experience of that in his traveling. He's just traveling with nothing, literally nothing. He's just traveling. That means 100% dependent on the mercy of the Lord. And so now he has full experience of this fact. And of course, Srila Prabhupada is also writing this statement with full experience and realization, because he also left everything. Right, and practically left with nothing. He also left home with nothing. Same way. And then Prabhupada writes an important sentence for especially those in the renounced order. A person should not be in the renounced order of life unless he is firmly convinced of being protected by the Lord. So that's the qualification required to be in the renounced order. So then one can be firmly situated in the renounced order because one knows perfectly well that the Lord will protect. And that is in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Abhayam Sattvasam Shuddhi Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti. 3 qualifications for the sannyasis. Every living entity is factually completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord, but unless one is in the pure state of existence, he cannot be established in this position. You see that? Every living entity is factually completely dependent. Right? Because without the mercy of the Lord, one cannot get anything. Whether it's devotees or non-devotees, everyone is dependent. The only difference is what? Only difference is what? Yes. The devotees realize it, the non-devotees don't realize it. And even amongst devotees, then to the degree one is surrendered, to that degree one realizes it. That yes, I am dependent. And to the degree one realizes that I'm dependent. So then yes, so then one does one's own part, one's own duty, and then totally depends on the Lord. So then there's not much anxiety. So that's how the devotee becomes free from anxiety. And that's how he stays in Vaikuntha even while living in the material world. So every living entity is factually completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord, but unless one is in the pure state of existence, so that means to the degree the purity is more, to that degree one realizes that dependence. And then when the purity is not there, then one thinks, no, I can do things on my own, figure out things on my own, and then one has to take up so much of anxiety to figure out things on one's own. Right. But then, when one has that full dependence, just like Srila Prabhupada, what did he write? Markine Bhagavad Dharma. Nachao, nachao. I'm simply puppet in your hands. Puppet means what? No independence. So then somebody may say, oh, where is freedom then? And therefore Srila Prabhupada has written, real independence is to declare one's full independence on the Lord. Real independence is to declare full dependence on the Lord. When one is fully dependent on the Lord, then actually one experiences full independence. That's what Srila Prabhupada is writing here. So to realize that, then the purity is required. More the purity, the more one realizes this. And so therefore Srila Prabhupada was confident. Why? He handed over his life to Krishna. You make me dance, however you want to make. Guru gave me instruction, I'm trying my best. Results, your hands, up to you. That's devotee. And to the degree the purity is there, to that degree one can realize this. This stage of dependence is called sattvasam shuddhi, or purification of one's existence. And the result of such purification is exhibited in fearlessness. So when one is so dependent on the Lord, then one is totally fearless. Srila Prabhupada gives example. Srila Prabhupada gives his own experience of, he was traveling in a tram with his small son, 3 or 4 years old. And so the conductor of the tram, so he wanted to joke. So he asked the boy, where is your ticket? So the boy said, I don't have. So then the conductor said, okay, get down. So immediately the boy looked at the father, Prabhupada, and said, but my father is here. So Prabhupada tells this to show the example. So the child, he is fearless. Why is fearless? Father. So that is what the Bhagavatam 11th canto is saying, right? Bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshata syat viparyaya. So the cause of fear is when one is absorbed, abhinivesh, absorbed in something other than Krishna. When one is absorbed in something other than Krishna, that becomes the cause of fear. But when one has full faith that Krishna is there, he is Supreme Father, very powerful Father. When one has full faith in that, no fear. That is why Srila Prabhupada could travel to US without any fear, with nothing. That's the reason. So then one is ready to do amazing services for Krishna because one has full faith that Krishna will protect and Krishna will help. Of course, one's own practices of devotional service also must be to that degree. So this stage of dependence on the Lord is called sattvasam shuddhi, or purification of one's existence. The result of such purification is exhibited in fearlessness. A devotee of the Lord who is called Narayana Para is never afraid of anything because he's always aware of the facts that the Lord protects him in all circumstances. With this conviction, Vidura traveled alone, and he was not seen or recognized by any friend or foe, and thus he enjoyed freedom of life without obligation to the many duties of the world. Okay. We'll just read this commentary on this verse. Okay, somebody read.
But his violence towards me did not harm you.
Whose violence? Dhritarashtra, Duryodhan.
Rather, it was beneficial for me. By the Lord's mercy, I have seen the feet of the Lord who hides from the intellectual faculties, drishya, of materialistic men by cheating persons such as Dhritarashtra. The Lord, affectionate to his devotee, is astonishing in this way. Free from doubt, I wandered to all the holy places, atra, unrecognized by others, since I do not reveal this secret about the Lord to anyone. The Lord, revealing himself to Vidura, who was drowning in an ocean of grief when he was driven out of the palace by Duryodhan, spoke to him. O Vidura, my greatest devotee, are you lamenting because of separation from me? Having given my promise to you now, you will see me
wherever you travel, since I will go there before you. This is a blessing of the Lord. Even after the death of the Duryodhan, when Yudhishthir gets the kingdom, Vidura was without effort able to see great bliss, whereas for others, great effort was needed to see the Lord. However, with the Lord's final disappearance, he would be withdrawn from the vision of Vidura. Therefore, until he met Uddhava, he was again disturbed because he could not see the Lord.
Okay, so he's explaining that how the Lord actually blessed Vidura, that wherever he would travel, he would have his darshan. And so therefore, with that full faith and dependence on the Lord, Vidura fearlessly traveled everywhere alone without being recognized by anyone. And so, even after Duryodhana's death, Yudhishthira gained the kingdom. So Vidura was able to see the Lord. But then when the Lord finally disappeared, of course, he was put into great separation. And then, of course, after meeting Uddhav, then they were discussing Krishna Katha. And then again, he had remembrance of the Lord. And then, of course, finally disappears. Yes, mother.
Then he can realize the dependence on the Lord. How this process work means, if somebody is pure, so
So not able to recognize the dependence? Forgetfulness. Because one forgets the presence of the Lord, therefore one is fearful. To the degree one gets purified, the relationship with the Lord is re-established. Simple.
So I have the relationship with Lord, but how I feel the dependence then? Is where what it means this knowledge get awakened so that he can see the.
So there is theoretical knowledge and there's realized knowledge. So therefore here also Srila Prabhupada is writing that he was not all sorry to be bereft of his hearth and home because he now had experience. So it was not only theoretical knowledge, he had experienced knowledge, he had full realization of these facts. And of course, even before that, he had realization. But then see, theoretically we know everything. Even now, theoretically we know everything. But then when one is put in the situation, how one reacts, that shows how much faith and realization one has in the Siddhanta, in the theory. So again, just like Srila Prabhupada and so many of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, like I think so we definitely told this example of how Srila Prabhupada told Brahmanand Prabhu and Gargamuni Prabhu to go to Bangladesh and Pakistan with nothing. And that time there was war going on between India and Pakistan, 1971. But such was the faith they had in Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, without a second thought, they just left. So that shows their faith, their dependence. So then that dependence will be tested in situations. When one is put through the situation, then how one responds, that shows how much faith, how much realization one has. Otherwise, speaking is easy, writing exam also is easy, getting certificate is also easy. But the real test is when one is put through the situation. That is the test. So when one is put through the situation, then how one responds in that situation. That will show how much one has done the homework, how much one has realized the subject matter, how much one is convinced of the subject matter. In another class, I was giving a very simple, down-to-earth example. Just like, what is the difference between pustakiya gyan, anubhavi gyan? Theoretical knowledge and realized knowledge. So if somebody had never had an experience of eating gulab jamun, so I can give a 1 hour lecture on what is the gulab jamun, what are the ingredients with all its details, how it is prepared, everything I can give. Beautiful lecture. How many of us would really understand what is gulab jamun after hearing that? Difficult, right? So now this seems irrelevant. I'm coming to that point. So now we have all tasted gulab jamun. So now after tasting the gulab jamun, now is it required to tell any one of us, see, gulab jamun is like this, it is like this, it is made of these things, it is very, very tasty. So see, gulab jamuns are being served there. Please go and take. Anyone requires invitation like that? No. Even if midnight somebody hears gulab jamuns are being distributed somewhere, one will run. Why? Is there any doubt in our minds about what is the taste of gulab jamun? Just by hearing only you are feeling, correct? That means just see the conviction. Just see the conviction. Why there is so much conviction? Experience. Because one has gone through the experience many times. And every time it has been the same experience. And so one is convinced without a doubt that gulab jamun is 100 very delicious and tasty. One is convinced. So now one does not require a lecture to be convinced of that. That is the meaning of realization. So one who is convinced, he does not require a lecture. Then as soon as he hears the word Krishna, he runs. So we are hearing all these lectures to come to that conviction. Till that time, one has to keep hearing so that one comes to that conviction. But once one gets the full conviction, which obviously is on the level of prema, then no theory is required, no lecture is required. Gopis don't have to be told, oh, Krishna is standing there, please go. No. So that's the difference between theoretical knowledge and realized knowledge. So when the situation comes, then it shows how much conviction we have. So then, now that one hears some Radhakund Baba or this one, that one, some other philosophy, and one goes away somewhere, that means conviction is not strong. So, what was the question basically? Right, yes. So then to the degree one becomes pure, then the theoretical knowledge turns into realized knowledge by the grace of Guru and Krishna. To the degree one is practicing devotional service for purification, Guru and Krishna are pleased. By their mercy, one gets realization. And when one gets that realized knowledge, then one is convinced without a doubt. So just like the best example is, of course, the Rajvasis. So whether it is this demon or that demon or forest fire or this or that, any situation, what happens? Krishna. They don't need training for that. It's just natural, spontaneous. Because they're convinced Krishna will protect. They were running into Agarsu's mouth. Laughing, joking, they were just running. Some, oh, hey, arey, demon. Krishna will say. Oh, Krishna hai, wo dekh le. That's called conviction. Can't imitate.
Just like gulab jamun, somebody comes and gives in the hands. So is it possible that that experience, this realization comes and somebody gives?
Shortcut kahan hai?
We see that in the river.
Shortcut nahi hai. We all look for the easy way out. How to get the best results with least efforts.
Bhakti yoga is also one process, right? Easy way.
So that's what Mahaprabhu has made it even more easy. Srila Prabhupada has made even more easy and still even more shortcuts. अभी कितना देंगे बाबा? और कितना shortcuts? Everyone doesn't get honorary PhD. You can keep waiting for the honorary PhD. What's the probability? So already the process has been made so simple. At least do that much sincerely. No? There's no other way.
Prabhuji, there is a question. Here it is mentioned, Prabhuji, Krishna says...
We are running out of time. Our break time is...
From this purport, this one. Krishna says, I will go there before you. What it means?
So it means Krishna is saying, wherever you travel, before you reach that place, I will already have reached the place. To give you remembrance. Wherever you go, I am present.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
So it's time for a break. Or should we just continue till 1 o'clock and end the class? Huh? Okay, fine.
Prabhuji, thank you very much, Prabhuji. So nicely you clarified freedom. इतने अच्छे समझाया कि freedom, हम इधर कैसे freedom में actually. Thank you. दो points बताया आपने कि bondage आएगा, activities अगर non-devotee family और devotee family भी है, still you have to do so many other activities to keep the family up. Prabhuji, regarding this, depending on Krishna वाला point, तो हम ये देखते हैं scenario that senior leaders, sannyasis, how they are nicely taken care by their disciples. So then we feel that in old age, okay, somebody will take care of us like this. But that is disciples, number one. Number two, ISKCON doesn't have a policy as such for full-time devotees as such. So I remember one situation. Last year, Vyas Puja of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, Rajasuya Prabhu was glorifying Maharaj, and his glorification was telling of some devotee, Janalok Prabhu or some I forgot. He was telling how this devotee is in Khargar, and then he's sick. I don't know current light right now, 1.5 years ago. So then he's sick, and then he wants medicine. I should bring medicine from here to give him. He was telling that medicine is available in Khargar also. You take and take, purchase and take. But he wants. Then Maharaj told me, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Swami Maharaj told Rajaswami Prabhu, no, you go, serve him nicely. So then he was telling few more incidences, somebody may remember. So then in this situation, what we see, this devotee, then Rajaswami Prabhu told that Maharaj told him later that he has done a lot of service in the bus or something. That's why Maharaj told him that you take care. Now in this care also, chalo, somehow workout ho gaya. Otherwise the devotee may not have got even the basic medicines or need as per at least what he feels. So going forward then, how we see, that how will I be taken care, or just serve Krishna and be sincere, and then somebody Krishna will inspire and he will arrange your medicines, and how it should be.
What do you think?
I can remember one more example of His Holiness.
Okay, examples can be there, but what do you what do you think?
My thought about this, as I've thought earlier also about it, is this: continue and don't change your paradigm. Change your paradigm that Krishna taking care of your body by providing medicines and food and proper room accommodation is actually taken care, is the care of Krishna. Krishna may even take care of you by the way of punishing, the way yesterday you were telling very repeatedly, Poshanam, Poshanam, Poshanam. So change your paradigm that this thing happens, that is care, and this is not care, no. And for that to attain, that consciousness to attain, that whatever is happening, that is Krishna's care, you have to go through this, where you mentioned repentance and penance. So you cannot also.
No, but what you said is perfect. That's correct. What you said is perfect. That's absolutely correct. That's Siddhanta. That Siddhanta is perfect, and the Siddhanta is what needs to be put into practice. There's no other way out. There's no other way out. So, if we don't realize the Siddhanta, we'll always be in misery. The purpose of... So, therefore, we have to be clear on this point. These Shastric classes are not simply an academic study or a exercise. We should be convinced of this first. This is not simply an academic study here, just to get a Bhakti Vaibhav degree. That is not the purpose. Or the study of the Shastra is not, some places they have this sadhana card system and, so many hours per week or whatever. Not just to fill some sadhana card or just to tell our superiors that we have read and or attended some course. It's not some... See, we can. It all depends on our attitude. So if we take it like that, if we just take it as an academic study or just to get a degree, that's what we will get. Then that's what we will get, nothing more. But if we understand that what are we dealing with? What is the Bhagavatam? What's the Bhagavatam? What's the Bhagavatam? Krishna. This is Krishna. We're dealing with Krishna directly. And Krishna is giving his instructions through his pure devotees like Vidura. For what? For us to learn and apply, or what else is the reason? So therefore we cannot say that, oh, Siddhanta is there in the books, but, practical is different. No, then we have not understood the Siddhanta. So therefore, the Siddhanta remains the Siddhanta. And that's what we were discussing, the fourth verse of the Chatushloki. Sarvatra, Sarvada. Devotional service is applicable in all time, place, circumstances, persons, for everyone, it's applicable. That's devotional service. Now, to counteract all of your examples, I also told one example, if you remember, of that brahmachari got married because of insecurity. You remember that? Then what happened? He had 2 daughters. And then what happened? They went away. And then, of course, when he was speaking to me, his wife was still there. But there is a possibility. What even if the wife passes away? Then what? Then he's a forced brahmachari. In one sense. Right. So the point is, who is going to take care in the ultimate issue? Who is there to take care? People can't take care of themselves. What to take care of others? Therefore, see, if we are in the position of leadership, within ISKCON, then definitely it is our duty to take care of devotees as representatives of Krishna. Because Krishna wants that devotees be taken care of. And so if we are in leadership positions, it's definitely 100% our duty to provide for the well-being of the devotees, because that's what will please Krishna. But as far as the rank and file devotees are concerned, who are not in leadership positions, then, and of course it applies to the leaders themselves also in their own practices, that we are dependent on Krishna. That's meaning of Vaishnava. Vaishnava means one who's dependent on Krishna. Otherwise, what's the difference between us and the non-devotees? Is the difference in activities per se? No, they are also eating, we are also eating, they are sleeping, we are sleeping, they are selling books, we are selling books, they are constructing some building, we are constructing some building. What's the difference? What's the difference? The only difference is in consciousness. That's the only difference. And that is our dependence on Krishna. And that's what we learn. Ambarish Maharaj, that demon is coming to attack right in front of him. Anyone had such a situation so far? And what's Ambarish doing? Again, we can't imitate. We have to do the needful. But we learn the lesson. What's Ambarish doing? He's just standing there praying. That's all. Now, how much faith and conviction and dependence on the Lord is required? These are the examples of the Shastra. What's Uttara doing when the Brahmastra is coming? What's she doing? What are the Brajvasis doing? So many difficult situations. What are they doing? So what? These are only stories? Without practical application? That's what we are supposed to come to. So that's our goal, to come to that level of consciousness where we feel that dependence. Of course, we have to do our part, needless to say. And our part is following the program that Srila Prabhupada has given us, following the instructions that we are getting. So if we do our part sincerely, then we have faith. So when we do our part sincerely, then we get that faith. Then we get that realization that yes, Krishna is there to protect. And he will. How he does that, he definitely knows what is best. Okay, I'll just tell you a story to illustrate this. I heard this from Purnachandra Swami. So there was one school teacher in Vallabh So the school teacher, not a rich person or something like that, a school teacher. So every year it was his definite routine to go to Rancho Rai, Dakor. And so he would go walking every year. And I think so I told this during the Bhakti Shastri classes, I think. So then one particular year, during exactly that time when he would go on his pilgrimage, there were school exams. So the headmaster of the school said, see, you have to be here to conduct the exams. You cannot go. The teacher said, no, but this is my yearly yatra. I have to go. So the headmaster was very firm. He said, see, if you go without conducting the exams, you lose your job. That's it. So then he consulted a friend. So the friend said, see, this is foolishness. You're a poor person. You have this small job. If you lose the job, what will you do? So the teacher thought about it, but then somehow he could not resist going. And so he thought, Krishna will take care. I'm going anyways. So he went. So he went to Dakor and then maybe spent a month or whatever. And then he came back. So he came back, and then after he came back, so he met his friend. So And then he began to describe to his friend that, yes, I went to Dakor and it was very wonderful. So the friend, he said, what? You went to Dakor? You were here conducting exams? Where you went? You were here? So he said, no, Baba, I went. Not in dream, I went. I went. And maybe he got some Mahaprasad also. As proof. But the friend said, no, but I saw you. You were there in the classroom conducting the exam. So then he understood what happened. Yes, absolutely. That's the problem. So, it all depends on our own faith and our own dependence. So therefore, if Krishna is just a statue, that's what we get. But if Krishna is a person who reciprocates, then he reciprocates. So it depends on me. What's my level of realization? And the price one has to pay to get that realization is our own practices of purification. That's the repentance and penance.
On the previous theme which you were addressing, giving Srila Prabhupada's example of those devotees, a couple of you had given. That. So, Prabhuji, you were mentioning these examples, very nice, very faith-giving. And you were, of course, mentioning we cannot imitate. This is Srila Prabhupada's standard. So, if in our level, if we apply systems of strictness, then I remember two different devotees. One was very new, one was 30 years plus practicing. So one devotee was telling, see, after Prabhupada has left, now all this is happening in ISKCON. Another devotee was telling, now, now in future ISKCON, future के ISKCON अभी वैसे थोड़ी ना होंगे जैसे प्रभुपाद के टाइम पे थे. So this is what the devotees feel, that ऐसे होना चाहिए जैसे प्रभुपाद जी ने किया. At the same time, Prabhupada did want organization, and we do know that now how the world is becoming more and more sensitive in everything. You have to be very careful and organized and systematic, and you have to take actions against. And I am not 100% sure, but I heard somewhere that I think Hungary or somewhere they have a jail also for devotees. Only in the campus, that somebody does गड़बड़ उसको जेल में डाल देंगे, डिवोटी को जेल में डाल देंगे, प्रसाद मिलेगा, सब मिलेगा, but वो जेल में रहेगा कुछ टाइम के लिए. So now, so is this how Prabhupada का भी वो flavor रखना है of accepting everybody. At the same time, if you accept such people in the system, then system को function करना, managers have a hard time. Then how, Prabhuji?
Therefore, understanding the Acharya's instructions is not based simply on word value. It's not that we just read words and we just try to imitate or put similar things into action. Then, as we were discussing yesterday, the compounder and the veterinary doctor. It's not like that. So therefore, we have to understand the principles and understand how to apply those principles in the present circumstances. If we take those same examples, Srila Prabhupada, he accepted service from the devotee who left, or he didn't disown disciple who is not following. At the same time, that's in terms of a relationship between spiritual master and disciple. But when it came to organization, Srila Prabhupada's instructions were different. That was in terms of a relationship between spiritual master and disciple, which is eternal. And as the representative of Krishna, what is Krishna's compassion? He's accompanying the jiva in every body to try and reclaim the jiva from material existence. So as the representative of Krishna, the spiritual master has the same mood. But when it came to organization, that was not how Srila Prabhupada acted. So when it came to organization, then right in the Bhagavatam purports, Srila Prabhupada written, 5th canto purport, so many purports, lectures. ISKCON is not a free hotel. It's not a place for lazy and crazy people. There's one lecture, Prabhupada is given in Vrindavan. The managers of ISKCON must be very clear on this point, that this does not encourage some lazy people to simply spend their time here. So therefore, everything is not black and white. So when it comes to organization, then yes, we all know the famous pastime, Giriraj Maharaj. How will this movement expand? By intelligence and organization. And Srila Prabhupada wanted that when it comes to organization. And therefore Srila Prabhupada had managerial systems and everything else set up. So therefore, everything has its place. So the spiritual master relationship with disciple, that's fine. Because ultimately, that person is a jiva. He has to be encouraged in his practice of devotional service. But it's not that Srila Prabhupada told that devotee who left to come and stay in the temple and he didn't give him some responsible position or something like that. He didn't do that. So as a personal spiritual master, as a guru, on his own personal account, he was allowing him to render service for him personally. That's a personal relationship. But that's not what he applied to the organization. Mm-hmm. So when it came to organization, then Srila Prabhupada was strict. And then whatever was needed to be done, he did. Even to someone like Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who did so much. But when it came to organization, there was disruption in organization. Then Prabhupada, so firm, chant under the tree or China. No third option. So firm, even though so much of service he did. But when there was a disruption to the organization, so firm. Absolutely no leniency. Only two choices. That's all.
Once I had heard, thank you, Prabhuji. Once I had heard that His Grace Karandar Prabhu had done some mistake, and then Srila Prabhupada brought him back and made him even the GBC of that region or something. Am I clear? Correct?
I don't know that specific instance what you're talking about. See, Srila Prabhupada had his own ways of doing things. See, Srila Prabhupada was playing a dual role, as a spiritual master also, and as the head of the organization also. He was playing that dual role. And so therefore, Srila Prabhupada very well knew that, first of all, as a spiritual master, he knew what is best for each disciple. Secondly, he knew what is best for the organization. And many times we see that Srila Prabhupada combined both of them very expertly. So the other day we were talking about this example here, right in Juhu, when Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Shyam Sundar Prabhu made the big blunder of cancelling the deal, Srila Prabhupada made them go through intense purification program. That's how he purified them. He didn't reject them, he didn't remove them from the service, but he purified them. And after purification, he allowed them to continue the service. So that was Srila Prabhupada's expertise in doing everything. He knew exactly how to deal with each person and what to do, when to do. And for being able to do that, we need to depend on Krishna. Because that intelligence to do the right thing at the right place to the right person, that intelligence can only be given by Krishna. It's not possible for our mundane intelligence in this very limited capacity in Kali Yuga. It's not possible for us to figure out how to deal with every individual. Very difficult. But then Paramatma knows perfectly. And so, Tesham Satayuktanam Bhajatam Pritipurvakam Dadami Buddhi. Then Krishna will give the perfect intelligence. Provided there is Tesham Satatayuktanam Bhajatam Pritipurvakam. Terms and conditions applied. When that is there, Krishna gives the intelligence. We have to do our part, Krishna will do his part.
Thank you very much.
Okay, fine. So, we'll just conclude this chapter. See if some other. So that's 42. What's that? Oh, okay. Understood. That was in the context of. Okay, what was that? That was in which context? Okay. That's text 39. So here, okay, Vidura is giving an example. Just as the eye is always protected by the eyelid, they are protected by the sons of Pritha, who snatched back their rightful kingdom from the hands of the enemy Duryodhan, just as Garuda snatched nectar from the mouth of Indra, the thunderbolt carrier. Quite interesting. Garuda snatched nectar from the mouth of Indra. So that means the nectar was already in his mouth, and Garuda snatched it from his mouth. That was how he was explaining. Garuda snatched nectar from the mouth of Indra. So, he was saying, amongst devotees, we rarely see something like that happening. But he said, on one occasion, I saw it happen. And of course, he told the names of the personalities. I don't know if I should tell them. So devotees were honoring prasadam, many Prabhupada disciples. And so there were these two very elevated Prabhupada disciples sitting beside each other. And so one of them was honoring prasadam very happily and blissfully. And so this other Prabhupada disciple sitting beside him, at a certain point of time, he put his hand within the other devotee's mouth and snatched some remnants and ate. So he was telling, That was the only instant in my life I saw this happening. Anyway, that was the funny part there. If you want to know who those personalities are, listen to the lecture. I don't want to land in trouble. Okay. Huh? No, not festival, just recently in Mayapur. Normal, regular Bhagavatam classes. Huh? No, somewhere. No, not in front of Prabhupada. No, this was not during Prabhupada's time. Recent, after Prabhupada. Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj. Okay, 43. रख दो हो गया चिंता मत करो. Okay, in 43 Prabhupada writes, okay, an important point. So the question may be raised, why did he tolerate such injustice and insults in his presence? Why did he not chastise Kurus immediately? Krishna. He was seeing all this nonsense happening. Why did he not chastise them immediately? Why did he allow all that nonsense to take place? So further down Prabhupada says, the silence of the Lord did not mean, however, that he excused the offenses of the Kurus. We were just discussing that point. Just because everything seems to be going on fine, it does not mean that the Lord is excused. There were many other kings on earth who had become very proud of three kinds of possessions. In the verse it is mentioned that there were three kinds of false pride. So they're proud of three kinds of possessions: wealth, education, and followers. So these are three dangers for us also. There's every chance of becoming proud. And they were constantly agitating the earth by moments of military strength. The Lord was just waiting to get them together on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and kill them all at one time, just to make a shortcut in his killing mission. So that was the reason why the Lord didn't take action immediately. And the last paragraph, the Lord always wants to see his devotee as the hero of some episode which he himself performs. He wanted to see his devotee and friend Arjuna as the hero of the battle of Kurukshetra, and thus he waited for all the miscreants of the world to assemble. That and nothing else is the explanation of his waiting. Other examples where the Lord makes the devotee hero? Vritrasur, how? Okay. Yes, Hanuman. Hanuman is a good example. What he could have done? He gave the credit to Hanuman. Lord Shiva when? Yes, drinking poison. Prabhupada, yes. Okay. Killing Jarasandha, yes. Bhima took the credit, even though the Lord could do it himself. So like that. So the Lord wants to give credit to his devotee. Okay. I think so that's it. And then 44. 45, yes. And so therefore then Vidura finally he says in the 45th verse, "O my friend, please therefore chant the glories of the Lord, who is meant to be glorified in the place of pilgrimage. He is unborn, and yet he appears by his causeless mercy upon the surrendered rulers of all parts of the universe. Only for their interest did he appear in the family of his unalloyed devotees, the Yadus." Okay, one last commentary on the 40. Sorry. Did we read this? No. Okay, just read this.
which can purify everyone and deliver them from samsara. For the benefit of those kings surrendered to the Lord, and for others who follow his orders, I have bathed in almost all the holy places. Now bathe me in the nectar of famous place called Krishna, which will make all other holy places successful.
Yes, so that's the ultimate holy place, to bathe in the nectar of Krishna, Krishna Katha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Aditya Ram Prabhu, Advait Karuna Prabhu, Akshobhya Prabhu Anantana